What if I told you that podcasts are saving thousands of African folktales from extinction? In 2025 alone, African Story podcasts reached over 50 million downloads, digitizing tales that were once nearly lost to history. This is the story of how a digital revolution is preserving centuries of oral tradition. Let's start with a jaw-dropping fact. Only 15% of Africa's 2,000 documented folktales were available in audio form by 2022. But podcasts are changing that fast. In September 2019, Nigerian-American host Ikete launched the African Folktales podcast, exploring stories like the Anansi spider tales from Ghana and Zulu stories from South Africa. By 2026, she had over 100 episodes, averaging 20 to 40 minutes each. But this isn't just about entertainment. These podcasts are reclaiming narratives suppressed during colonial rule. Take Dr. Wanjiku Mukie, a Kenyan historian who started Africa's Untold Stories in March 2022. Her episodes dive deep into events like the 1964 Zanzibar Revolution, which claimed 11,000 lives, and the 1884 Berlin Conference that partitioned Africa into 54 colonies. These stories aren't just history, they are lessons for today. For example, Mukie's October 2023 episode revealed how Sultan Syed Baghash secretly funded anti-colonial poets, a fact buried in British archives until 2017. But why were these stories buried in the first place? Colonial powers like Britain banned African folktales, labeling them pagan. Urbanization further eroded these traditions, with UNESCO reporting an 80% loss by 2000. Podcasts are reversing this trend. Hosts like Ojeki Okorocha, who started Stories Mother Told, African Folktales in July 2020, are reviving tales passed down by her grandmother, including suppressed Igbo stories of the 1929 ABA women's right. This cultural revival isn't just about memory, it's also big business. Nigerian podcasts generated 15 million in 2025, rivaling Nollywood. Hosts like Ikete are partnering with the African Union to fund storytelling initiatives, proving that these podcasts are more than entertainment, they are a movement. But it's not without controversy. In 2022, the podcast Sound Africa faced backlash for whitewashing Zulu tales, leading to a petition with 5,000 signatures. And in Uganda, episodes of Africa's Untold Stories were banned for covering the 1986 Bush War, forcing listeners to download via VPNs. So what does this all mean for the future? African story podcasts are more than a trend, they are a digital renaissance, reclaiming narratives that were once suppressed. They are teaching history, preserving culture, and inspiring a new generation. As you listen to these tales, ask yourself, what stories are we still missing? And how can we ensure they're never forgotten?